This is Cameo King, and welcome to the Trusted Voices with the Lansing Regional Chamber of Commerce. I'm excited to have this very needed conversation around vaccines, around COVID vaccines. I have been a journalist in the Lansing area. I'm currently the host of the Good Girl podcast, as well as the founder of a nonprofit, Grit, Glam, and Guts, that serves teen girls. So I'm excited to be here, excited about this conversation. I'm joined by Marla Ekola. She is the director of pharmacy for McLaren, Greater Lansing. Marla, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this very vital topic.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm so excited to be able to kind of clear up some of the questions for the vaccine and help people feel comfortable getting this vaccination.
And so just to start it off, what has been your role at McLaren in regards to the vaccine?
So as the director of pharmacy, I have been heading up McLaren's Greater Lansing's piece in the McLaren Corporation's push out for the vaccinations. We did some locally. We've also partnered with Walgreens to help get more of our vaccinations across Michigan. We have 13 subs, and so we've been pushing vaccinations from those subs out to Walgreens as well, so we can help to vaccinate more people in different areas. We've taken vaccine all the way to Ludington, all the way to Grand Rapids and so forth. So kind of spreading out those vaccinations. We've been working with the Walgreens partners to push that out. But I've been kind of the hub for that. And so receiving in vaccinations, answering questions, making sure that our staff gets vaccinated, making sure that we have a plan for the vaccination. So that's my role.
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's been my full-time job for the past several months.
Ensuring the vaccinations get to where they need to get to, and also to ensure that the demand is needed. And also when I think about our vulnerable populations, when I think about people of color, when I think about people who may have illnesses, people with disabilities, and even maybe people who live in rural areas. Can you talk about those challenges?
So it's been very challenging, especially because we came in through phases, and the first phase was healthcare. And so we really needed to get all of our healthcare workers vaccinated. And there were points in time whenever I was walking around, not begging people to take the vaccination, but really asking and trying to get them, the ones who were a little bit hesitant, to go ahead and do the vaccination, because we had to get to the next stage where we were pushing the vaccination out to the other, to the rural areas, and to help serve those populations. And in the healthcare field, or in the healthcare, even in any hospitals, you have a big group of different socioeconomic people. And so the conversations that we had with everybody was a little bit different. I wanted them to feel very secure in getting the vaccination, and that the science behind it was good, so that they would go home and have that conversation with their families and with their relatives. And I actually got several questions back from other people that I had conversations with here in the hospital. Said, you know what, my aunt came back, she had this question. So I was able to kind of help clarify those, hopefully spreading that out to those different areas. It is very difficult to try to get to some of the people who do not regularly engage in our healthcare system to be comfortable with the vaccine. I mean, even if you look at the flu vaccine, we're only about 30-40% for people who get vaccinated. We've had that for decades. So it is difficult to get to them and then answer the questions. They get so much information or misinformation from television, and also from some of the social media sites. And so, being able to combat that with true information and true science behind it has been one of my goals. And I've kind of taken that on by being a boots on the ground information source for everybody that I get in contact with, and pushing that good information out so that they can tell the people, hey, this pharmacist that I talked to, this is what they had to say about it.
I think it's so interesting, Marla, that you said true science.
Yes.
And the fact that we are very much connected to social media, a lot of us are at home watching TV, scrolling through Instagram or through Facebook, and we believe something is a source we can trust. How are you combating, in a sense, what you're hearing to true science?
I think the analogies that we've had a lot of has been around what about it's going to mess with my DNA, because people hear that there's some RNA pieces in there. And so, having them to understand that this is not new science, and that, that we've been using this type of technology and for decades has been very helpful. I think it's also, I always put it akin to, and my family says I have a knack for breaking it down to their level, or to a down level. It's, whenever you have a bloodhound and you need a bloodhound, or you need a dog to pick up a scent from someone, because I come from a hunting family, you give them a little scent of that, and then they have that in their brain, and then they know what they're after. That's exactly what the mRNA vaccine does. It goes, oh, I know what I'm doing. And it creates little pieces, like a little memory in the body, so that it can do that. So it can find that. And if it comes across that scent, it knows what to do. Or when it comes across that protein, it knows what to do. Combating that information with very specific discussions on those has been very helpful. There are some people, you're going to have people on both sides who are like, oh, it's always yes and it's always no. So I try to look for the ones in the middle, and try to help the ones in the middle make an informed decision by breaking it down to how they feel about the vaccine, and then giving them information in terms that they can understand. Because I mean, the bottom line is, when you read through some of the handouts on these things, there's a lot of, M's and R's, and, unless you are a nerd like we are and love that kind of stuff, it's really hard to understand, how does that apply and what does it do when it gets into my body?
Yeah. So outside of that, because I've heard the DNA, myth. I've heard, and people joke about this, but I believe there's truth in jokes, but that, I'm going to grow an extra limb, because I think there's hesitancy there.
Right.
And again, especially from certain communities, from Black people, because of their history with the healthcare system. So what are some things that you have been hearing outside of, the DNA component, and along with the hesitancy?
So I think the two biggest pieces that I've heard is that, of course, the DNA piece, and modifying the DNA piece, coming from a bitch science background. I know how hard it is to grow an extra limb, and it's really kind of hard. So that piece is completely debunked. But I think the idea of a marker is probably the other piece in there. It's like, does it create this protein, and is that protein going to be detectable? Those are some of the other pieces that I've heard. The side effects, they worry about getting COVID from the vaccine, which is you cannot, because it actually does not contain that whatsoever, and either of the strands, or either of the 3 vaccines. There is some general concern about just not doing what people want me to do at this point in time. And then the other piece of that is just kind of the unknown. And the unknown piece kind of really doesn't hit very well with me, because people put chemicals in their body all of the time, every day, not from what they put on their skin to what they're eating, and you can't tell me that you're concerned about your health and what you put in your body if you're eating McDonald's every day. Mm-hmm. Those things have chemicals as well. So I think some of the pieces in there are kind of, what is it going to do to my body? And I think they're really macro focusing on that versus, how does that affect overall? There's some concerns from what does it do in 10 years or 15 years? And especially from young parents, I'm hearing that. Our parents who have kids now who are about the age to get vaccinated, including myself. I have a 16-year-old and I have a 19-year-old. It's like, all right, how is that going to affect them? Are we safe to give them the vaccine? Is it going to change, or are there going to be any side effects from that? Looking at the science behind a lot of medications and vaccinations, the long-term effects of those are very, very, they do not usually have significant long-term effects. Very, very few medications, very few vaccinations have significant long-term effects. As a matter of fact, I can only think of like 1 or 2. And those long-term effects were not significant to cause any problems with reproduction, to cause any problems with future disease states. So those are some of the unfounded, or some of the discussions that I've had with people. And I think it is the like I said, you do have the people that are, positive and negative, and then it's the ones that are in the middle that are kind of like, oh, I'm not sure, that I've been trying to get to the most.
Yeah. And there are also a few things that I understand as well about the vaccine. I've had conversations with the Ingham County Health Department about what it really does. So just to reiterate, the COVID vaccine does not, and then can you fill in the blank?
Oh, the COVID vaccine does not contain COVID. It does not contain any pieces of the virus. It does not modify the DNA. It does not, it does, like I said, help your body to produce a protein. And that protein goes, hey, I know what I'm looking for. And when I see this protein, and I'm going to be able to attack that protein and not get a COVID infection. And that's the purpose for the for two vaccine series. The Johnson and Johnson actually has a different mechanism. So they work by a different mechanism. But those, it actually helps your body to, the first one shot gets it ready, and the second shot goes, oh, I know what I'm doing. And so you build up that immunity. It does not contain any type of tracking device, which is one of the myths that we've heard. And it does not have significant side effects. We've been given, I think we have over 100,000 people that have been vaccinated within the McLaren system. And in our facility, we've done, probably close to 3,000. And we've had a couple of people that have had a acute reaction, meaning that they didn't feel well immediately. And then we've had some people that felt like they had the flu the next day. 24 hours, 48 hours, all of that is gone. So that's your body building up an excellent immune response. I akin that to having morning sickness when you're pregnant. They tell you, oh, that's a good thing. That means your body's producing the hormones that you need. And that's the same thing, is that, your body is producing the hormones that you need, or the having the immune response, so that whenever it recognizes that protein again, it knows exactly what to do.
Yeah. So Marla, this will be my last question. And I think this is probably a question that sits at the top of people's minds because of what we've heard in the media. And I've seen a couple of articles, and they link in a very interesting way. They link the deaths of individuals to COVID by the headline. They'll say, a 58-year-old man dies after receiving the COVID shot. It could have been 2 weeks later. It could have been a week. It could have been a month later, but they link the two. Mm-hmm. And the individuals could have had some other underlying conditions. Right. They could have got hit by a car, but they link the two. Can you address that?
Yeah. We are very much a headline society, that we read the headline and then don't kind of delve into it. So yes, so there are some people that have had significant reactions or things that happen close to the time of the vaccination. Those things, for the most part, there are some pieces that may have been linked to what was going on in the patient's body whenever that vaccination hit. I know one of them was liver failure, and another one was potentially a pulmonary embolism after the fact. So those are things that were going on in the patient's body that happened to hit. This happens every flu season. Whenever people get the flu shot and they go, I got the flu shot from the flu, or I got the flu from the flu shot, which is inaccurate. There's no way you can get the flu from the flu shot. But because they happen around the same time, people associate that with being what happened. And it's really hard to debunk those, other than the hundreds of thousands of people that have now gotten the vaccination. And even before it was approved, tens of thousands of people with a very wide variety of backgrounds, ethnic backgrounds. I mean, there were 30% of African-American Asians and that was tested in that, which is what it should be all the time, but does not always head up for drug studies. And for the number of people that we've had vaccinated and the minimal amounts of those significant side effects, it is a very, very safe process. It's safer than driving your car. It is safer than some of the other chemicals that you put into your body. I think one of my final pieces that I always tell people is, if they have any hesitancy, I was like, you wear your seatbelt for a reason. The chances you may not get COVID, you may not ever get infected, you may not ever, run across this, but you may not ever get in a car accident either. And you wear the seatbelt to save you and save the people around you and make you healthier and safer, and the people around you healthier and safer. And this vaccine is a very, very small thing to do to kind of help you be safe and help the other people around you be safer.
Well, Marla, thank you so much for the information you provided. I sincerely hope that this hits the ears of individuals who are looking for more information. And also, if they are, they can continue to watch this series, as well as, does McLaren have some information on their website that they can head to if they're just interested in learning more?
We do, yeah. McLaren has a lot of corona and virus information on their main website that's headed up by corporate. I myself personally field lots of phone calls, which is perfectly fine. Sometimes you just need to hear it from a live person to go, oh, you know what, I think it's okay, or here, let me ask you these specific questions, and then get that advice. And other pharmacists throughout the county and throughout the community are also available to help fill those questions. We love being asked questions. It is part of our job, and it's helps us to be more engaged with our patients. So don't hesitate to ask the specific questions, and so that you can get the answers that you need to make that decision.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here, and thank you all for watching.
Thank you.